Well, many thanks for choosing us. Now, the Ghana Police Service has warned persons who engage in mobbing justice to desist from the act. This comes after the gruesome murder of Captain, now Major Maxwell Adam Mahama, and other reported cases of lynching in different parts of the country. JoyNews Joseph Akable has been engaging the Deputy PRO of the Police Service, who has assured the police is on top of investigation and will ensure all persons who engage in such mob attacks will be punished.
It's an incident the nation is yet to recover from, the gruesome murder of Captain and now Major Adams Mahama, one that we've all condemned in clear terms. But I'm here to engage the Ghana Police Service. The Ghana Police Service is crucial because this is the force expected to do due diligence to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book. I'm here to engage the Deputy PRO, DSP Sheila Abaye Bachman. I hope I got it right this time around.
Sheila Abaye Bachman.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
First, let's start with last week Monday when the news came in far away from this unfortunate incident. How did the Ghana Police Service receive this news?
Once the police heard that there was a lynch, the police rushed to the scene and investigation started.
Did it come as a surprise to the Ghana Police Service? There are some who are looking at this and saying that, I mean, this is out there in the media. We are here speaking to you on it simply because of the character involved. But they say across the country, in fact, now we've confirmed that on the day of the incident, there was a similar lynching in other parts of the country as well. Do you get a report often from your men who are on the ground?
Not so often, but once in a while we get a report like that. And in any case, it is our duty to investigate such cases, so we do not get overwhelmed with any particular case.
With this particular instance that we are looking at, so far we know you've been carrying out investigation. Each day the update comes. Which numbers are we talking about now and how far with the investigation?
For now, we can say that 41 people have been remanded to police custody for police to carry on with investigations. There is one person that has been picked up, and we believe that between today and tomorrow, we are likely to get 1 or 2 more suspects we are looking for. And as and when we get them, we shall follow due process. If we have to go to court to seek a remand, we will do that. If we have to grant them police inquiry bail, we will do that. But for now, I can say that there are 42 suspects in our custody, out of which 41 have been remanded to police custody by the court.
The response of the police, some say it appears the force can really be efficient when they want to be. And for those people, I know you disagree with that view, but certainly they will point out that there are instances across the country. We all know that in Kumasi, big case, they are trying to find a Delta gentleman who assisted the other 13 to escape the police custody or court premise. But this time around, you're picking up people across the country. The reports kept coming out. Can the police be this efficient?
Yes, the police is efficient. And it only means that day by day we get better.
So it's not a case that it's because of the whole bit around the event, or perhaps people are volunteering information. That's how come you are reacting swiftly.
People are also volunteering information, and that is very key to the success of any police investigation. Whilst we gather intelligence, we also rely on people to give us information about who and who did what. And so in all cases, we keep encouraging people to partner the police to unravel whatever circumstances surround every particular case.
We are in an era where we've heard legal terms like nolle prosequi. We've also heard about the fact that there's not enough evidence to prosecute. For those we've picked up so far, questions people are definitely asking is, do we have enough to connect them to the crime, or is still a case of, as usual, people say the police arrest even before investigating to connect the crime?
Police picked up several people, but as you would realize, not all of them are still in police custody. Some were granted police inquiry bail to go away, but then some have been remanded to police custody by the courts because we believe that we still need to keep them in custody for further investigations. Until investigations are fully completed, we cannot say that we are leaving some off the hook or not. For those who have been remanded, if by the time we are done with investigations, we believe that they are not directly connected to the cause of death, the Attorney General would advise, and then the courts would do as the law directs. But for those who are directly connected, we have evidence, we are picking up evidence. We will not detain anybody for just based on suspicion. And so for those that we have detained, for now we know that we have some kind of proof or some kind of reasonable basis to keep them in custody.
Lots of calls. Each time we hear any individual commenting on the event, they all talk about the need to bring those who committed the crime to book. We've heard from former President Rawlings, former President Mahama, the sitting president himself just yesterday also made that, give the family that assurance. Does this put them so much pressure on the Ghana Police Service, and what kind of assurance are you giving those who are even skeptical about your work that you've done so far?
We want Ghanaians to be assured that we are leaving no stone unturned, and every step of the way we are following due process, and we hope that in no time this case would come to an end and the people will be taken through committal processes.
Now to Dencho Boise, where the incident took place. What is the security situation as it stands?
Police is on the ground and we have adequate police protection. The fact that some people in the town or in the community committed acts that we believe to be criminal does not mean that other people within the community and its environs must not be protected. And so we can assure that the people are safe.
There are some who say there is some psychology behind mob justice or injustice, like we have been urged to refer to it as. And they point out that on the police desk, you have a lot of cold cases that the police were supposed to bring closure to. Myself, I know some cases. Our residents were begged, they came over, took fingerprints, among other things. It's been more than 4 months. They say that the police service, it's the nature of your work. People don't have confidence in it. How do you react to that?
People must have confidence in the police. And in any case, it is up to all citizens to partner the police to prevent and fight crime. Every individual in the country must be responsible enough to want not to be involved in crime or to help fight crime. And so we must build trust and confidence in the police. My brother, I tell you, if we did not have confidence in the police, we wouldn't be enjoying the peace that we are enjoying in the country. The fact that there are 1 or 2 incidents shouldn't win people's trust. Let us continue to support the police, and let us continue to be partners against the fight, partners in the fight against crime, and we will all have a better place to live in the country.
Now, for mob injustice itself, what is the Ghana Police Service doing about that? Just today, we again had a report of someone being lynched over 1 cedi 50 pesos somewhere in Gomwa, Fete. It appears it's something that cuts across the country. You have people wanting to take the law into their own hands. What message does the Ghana Police Service have for them?
Fellow Ghanaians, it is not our duty as individuals to exact punishments. The only institution that the Constitution has given authority to exact punishment is the judiciary. If for any reason we believe that a person has committed a crime or has done anything wrong, it is not up to us. We do not have the authority to want to punish the person by throwing gadgets or by hurting the person or even in the process murdering the person. If we see anybody that we suspect to have committed crime, let us hand the person over to the police. We can call the police. We can go to the nearest police station. We can even fall on the media, because now the media is helping us a lot. With this investigation that we are conducting, we get feed from the media as well, not just ordinary citizens. And so we shouldn't in any way, because if we don't take care, tomorrow it might happen to you, it might happen to me, and then we would know how painful it is. And so we plead with everyone, we shouldn't in any way think that we have the authority to exact punishment, because that particular act that you do, which might lead to the punishment of another without due process, might also be criminal. And when we get you, we will deal with you. You would face the full rigors of the law.
Thank you very much. So you heard DSP Sheila Abeye Bachman. I tried to get it right this time around. She's very busy. I'm sure they are continuing with the investigation that we expect them to carry out to ensure that all those who took part in this heinous crime are brought to book. For JoyNews, Joseph Akable.
And that was Deputy PRO of the Ghana Police Service speaking with my colleague Joseph Akable, and she says that the law will deal ruthlessly with people who are caught engaged in mob actions. Joining me on the phone line is a psychologist. He's with the University of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Osafo. He will join in this conversation because we really want to understand why people will decide to be inhuman and engage in such acts. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Osafo. Many thanks for your time on The Pulse.
Good afternoon.
All right, Doc. In the studio also is a private citizen, Kweku Ntwibu Esiako, who wants a law that will bite very hard on people who engage in this barbaric act to deal with them. He will be telling us more about this law. Let me start with you, Dr. Osafo. In all of this, the incident that led to the murder of Major Mahama, I've heard people say that the people were possessed and they can't just understand how a normal human being will engage in such activity or such act. What normally goes on in the minds of people like this when they are engaging in such acts?
I think that's the 1 million question everybody's asking. What will make someone lose this sense of empathy that usually one could express towards somebody who is, maybe a victim or somebody who is a robber. And you wonder why people would just go ahead and that intensity to trust people. But I think that the basic point here is to understand the mentality of the crowd, the mentality of a mob. A mass of people will change into a crowd and then further graduate into a group. And one of the things that will change them from these spaces will be the stimulus. And so, as psychologists are very key in two things. I want to find out, for example, what are some of the historical dynamics of the state, for pure social psychological perspective. What did happen some time ago? Are these people, have they been exposed to some kind of violence? And, for example, have sought for redress in the law court and haven't really gotten justice? That's part of the question I'll ask. The other thing to think about is that when you have a group of people who really become a part of a mob, they lose, the individuals who lose their sense of self. They get what we call de-individuation. There's this feeling that I will not be identified as a part of the family. And so people are likely to just jump into the wagon and do what they want to do with a certain understanding that nobody will identify. You don't have to get somebody arrested. We should be looking up for group. So they will get in there and do what they are doing. And so there are very interesting dynamics that go into this. But these two will be key for me as a psychologist.
For example, in the case of Major Mahama, we know that the Major tried to engage the people. He tried to explore dialogue, but that didn't work. So how do we deal with these people in the event you come across such people? Since dialogue doesn't work, do you use force? How do you deal with the situation?
And so if we go on that tangent of I have heard, I don't know the full story, but I have heard that what did happen to this military officer might be a reprisal from government's current posture towards dealing with Galamsey in the country. If that is so, then I maintain my position that the fight against galamsey simply should go beyond the deployment of security force. There is a need for us to look at dealing with galamsey holistically. There's a need, for example, of psycho-education. If people are, for example, exposed to, getting something, making ends meet via galamsey and such illegal cooperation, and they have been told by government that you can't go this way again. What it means is that they may perceive a threat to the existential survivor. What does it mean to say that I cannot do this again? And of course, we are not just saying that you can just get up and say, well, because I want to eat, allow me to do something illegal. That's not the point. But when you have a group of people who have built a certain mindset and attitude towards a certain way of life, a means of changing their thoughts and swaying their attitude from what they have been exposed to what you want them to think about, takes something more than force. Force is useful, but force must go in tandem with something else, and that will be psycho-education. And so I think that psychologists, sociologists, and social scientists will have to get involved in this. We should look at this fact as not just forcing people to stop what they were supposed to do, but we should look at it as an opportunity to change the way they think and the way they look at the issues, in life, and the way they are thinking about the best model of making ends meet. Because it makes it difficult for them when they think that we are going to be thrown away, we are going to be stopped from getting access to what they so I think that it should be a complete, holistic approach. So, for example, who did go there to engage the community? Have we really engaged the community, these communities or those communities which really do engage in this galamsey operation? I think that these are fundamental issues to think about and to look at a holistic approach in dealing with. So I still think that the security perspective, yes, is good, but it's not the only way of addressing this issue. We need a whole reorientation, psychological reorientation, and psycho-education in this respect.
Doc, I have you hold and speak with a private citizen who has joined me in the studio, Kweku Ntriboesiako, who wants a law to be passed to deal with some of these issues. We've all been emotional about this issue, and we've been thinking why there are no such laws around to bite hard at people who engage in this act. And for you, what is driving this agenda?
Well, I think the whole nation has been terribly shocked by what happened to Captain Mahama. Personally, if you remember the incident where Anthony Boateng, the former administrator, hospital administrator, who was lynched by a mob when he was carrying the corpse of his late in-law. Now, that individual happened to be my classmate from the University of Ghana. So I have personal feeling, personal hurt, and what happened to Captain Mahama really brought back the hurt that I felt back in 2007 when my former colleague was murdered by a mob. Now, doctor said something which is very core to what I'm proposing, the law that I'm proposing, which is that people feel they cannot be identified when they are in a mob situation, and that encourages them to continue with whatever action they want to undertake. So the law that I'm proposing, which I would be happy if it is named after the late Mahama, so it becomes Mahama Law or Mahama Duty to Rescue Act 2007. The law will seek to make it a punishable offense if you are within a certain radius of somebody who is in danger and you fail to come to the assistance of that person. Now, there are two things that such a law will seek to achieve. If you cannot help, walk away from the situation so that the people who are actually perpetrating the crime can easily be identified. That takes away the mob anonymity mentality from those who want to perpetrate the acts. Secondly, if you know that the law mandates you or obligates you to intervene, then you either intervene or simply walk away or call the police. And so I'm looking at borrowing some provisions from France, from Germany, from Russia. They have different provisions in their criminal laws where, let's say, take France for instance, anyone who fails to render assistance to a person in danger will be found liable and upon conviction could face a term of imprisonment, a fine, or both. That is one aspect. It's also forbidden in Germany, in Russia, for instance. It is forbidden to knowingly abandon people who are in life or health-threatening situation. So if we have such a law in Ghana, then what it means is that people will be scared to mob around any situation, to congregate around an individual who is being attacked, because, for instance, the law can say if you are within 20 meters of an individual who is being attacked and you fail to act, then you, if you are identified, can also go to jail or be fined. Now, if you know you can be fined by simply congregating around an individual, you will walk away if you can't help. If you can do something about it, you can call the police or even film what is going on and report to the police. It will encourage people to also come out and provide evidence to the investigating authorities if they know that their presence creates a legal obligation on their part.
Let me pick your thought, Dr. Safo, if you're still on the line. You made mention of reorienting such people, and indeed there have been concerns as to how this can be achieved. For instance, if you put this community, Dintroboase, which has been the center of discussion this past week, you can tell that it has a history of violence, which gives the indication that it has been a generational handover. It makes it difficult to reorient people of this nature.
I think that should not be. I mean, by the time you are already talking about a potential generation that has been exposed, to such kind of behavior, then the question we want to ask or pose is, what has been done? If nothing has been done, we cannot blame them and say that, okay, they have been exposed to such culture. What has been done? Do we have clear examples of training programs, psychoeducation programs? Have we engaged the community, for example? Have we engaged the leaders? Have we engaged, young men in the area who are likely to, descend into a hypnotic state of mind when they just, are part of the home? Have we engaged them? And these are very critical issues. We cannot, for example, label a town and say, well, that's how they are, when we have not, for example, engaged them. And I think that we still need to engage the Jonabas and other potential towns. You see, what is happening in that town has the potential to degenerate into even a human, crisis. I'm told that presently, even children, there are children who are walking about abandoned by their parents who are presently in the bush and all that. And so the community would have to be actively engaged on all fronts. Education, engaging the leaders, and finding out what are the sociological dynamics, the historical dynamics. Have there been some stimulus, a particular stimulus in the area that makes people think that anybody we are told or we think is an armed robber, we just have to descend on the person and kill the person? Is that what have they been exposed to some act of God and have sought, redress from the law? I mean, the court, various court of law, and didn't get it. These are critical questions to ask. And it may not just be teacher or whatever. Then in the other particular, towns or villages where similar behaviors, do occur, you have no idea. So I think that this must open us all up to taking this issue serious, engage in research, engage in community, psychoeducation, and I still maintain this position that the fight against galamsey across the country should not just be done along security lines. We have to engage social science.
So ideally, what should be the approach? Should we just wake up one day and say, we're gathering all the young people in a particular area, come, we're educating you? How should we approach this?
So for example, we are told that, okay, government is clamping down on galamsey across the country. We know the exact areas where galamsey operators, do work. We know. I mean, I know that there have been some, even if we don't know, or we know a good number of
some major areas.
That's right. So we know those areas. I mean, do we just get up and say, okay, there's a clampdown? Is that all? Don't we follow up, for example, and find out what is happening? Don't we engage the assemblymen? Don't we engage the leaders, the chiefs, the linguists, the family heads, the young men in the area who, over the years, have not, for example, got any jobs? And these are the things they do to make ends. We have to go there. And I think that as we seek to enforce this along the city lines, it must go hand in hand with psychoeducation. And like I told you, don't forget that some of these young people, for, years, maybe 2, 10 years, this is what they've been doing. So if you want them to get off it, which we know is a serious threat to our environment, then we need to stop it by all means. But how do we do that? How do we help this young? And I think that psychoeducation and helping them acquire other skills, helping them get access to jobs. I believe that if some of these young men really do have access, it will not be a challenge to ask them to get up. That will not be a challenge at all. But if they don't have anything doing and then they go out and say, okay, get off it, it is a threat to their existence. There's no doubt at all. And so we need, number one, like I said, to engage all these communities. We need to engage them educationally, psychologically, trying to reorient their thoughts that destroying your own environment is tantamount to poisoning yourself. If you poison your water body and destroy, the lands on which you thought it, you're likely to go and get your booster, eat, and still get some vital organs in your body poison. And we need to do this. There's no time to waste. We cannot push along only the security lines. I like the security line. Like, it should not be the only major means. We have to expand it.
Well, let's look at people who feel, or who I've heard people say that because of the lack of confidence in the police, it's gotten people to take the law into their hands, because he feels if he reports to the police, it will take a very long time. They may not even hear anything about this suspect anymore. So then let me deal with him myself. But how does this come across to you? Is it genuine, or is just being used as a petition for people to hide behind that veil to commit these crimes?
Well, I think that I have two views on this. Number one, I think that it's completely unacceptable if somebody says that, well, I just went out there and didn't get the rest, so let me take the law into my hands. Forgetting that if you do that, you'll be arrested. I am not a law person, but I know that if you really want to get evidence to prosecute somebody in court, you need patience, because you need to build evidence. And don't forget that somebody can just, erroneously be taken up and then, forcefully accused. So you need to build evidence. And that's why, law practitioners will tell you that nobody is guilty until the person is,
proven guilty.
Yes, proven guilty in a competent law court. And so you cannot just make such, sweeping argument. Say, well, I didn't get it. I mean, that would be like we are a zoo. There are no laws. Nothing works. It cannot happen. But the other side of the coin is also relevant for us to consider. That when somebody feels and perceives that I need to be avenged, I need to see a lawyer, I've gone to the law court. This case, I need to get justice, and the person doesn't get justice. That is also a problem. And so I think that it's a combination of, number one, educating the public to understand the dynamics and the nitty-gritty that go in prosecution and in delivering justice. At the same time, we should also be looking at our law court and seeing how best can we fast track some of this. How can poor people get justice when they think that they have been manhandled? How can they get justice if you get to some of these areas where residents tell you the kind of pressure and attacks they have endured from armed robbers, and up to today they will tell you nobody has been arrested, nothing has happened, people have just suffered what happened. So as we educate the public, we also need to improve on our system. We need to improve on fast-tracking some of these things. We need to, and I'm not saying that we should just rush through this and then just get justice. That would be at the expense of, creating further challenges for people with innocence. But I think that by and large, what we need to do is to improve our along the lines of the students. At the same time, educating the public that this is not something that just comes within just 2 hours or 3 hours. You need to be careful to make sure that you've gotten the evidence and the person you're prosecuting is the person who owns.
All right, many thanks to you. Dr. Joseph Osafo is a psychologist with the Psychology Department of the University of Ghana. We're indeed grateful for your time on the Pulse. Back to you in the studio. Though your move may be a good one, it definitely doesn't look like an easy task, because if you live in Ghana, then you know how the kind of snail pace we use in dealing with matters, or some of these matters. How do you intend to push this agenda?
Well, already I've initiated an online petition, which before I came in, about 852 people had already signed. This afternoon, I gave a copy of the petition to a member of parliament on his way to parliament. I've also sent a copy by email to a very senior person. I'm not sure he has already read this mail, so I don't want to mention the name. But once we reach a certain level of signatures, we will take a copy and submit to the presidency and make sure we go on advocacy with like-minded people to make sure such a law is passed. If you strip away that mob anonymity, you are halfway through solving this issue of mob injustice. Because once people feel that by merely congregating around somebody who is being attacked will lead to their own prosecution, they will walk away or stay a distance. That way, you are easily able to identify the people who commit such acts, and they can be brought to book. And that will also encourage people to report, because if I'm found on the scene of such an incident and I know that I can mitigate my own prosecution by providing evidence, I'll be more than encouraged to go forward. And we know that, with technology nowadays, people are filming incidents all the time. And so people will understand that if I'm found on the scene, most likely I will be identified as somebody who was on the scene. Now, if with that in mind, should I do something about it? If I can intervene to stop people from beating up, say, a suspect, I will do it rather than face prosecution myself.
Yeah.
And that is very important. This law is in France, you have it in Russia, in Germany, and several other places. But I think we can borrow a few provisions from these countries and entrench it into our own criminal jurisprudence. And I believe it will stop the mob actions that we've been seeing.
How urgent is this agenda?
This is very urgent. we started the online petition 3 days ago. And as I said, already an MP has taken a copy to Parliament, and I've sent one to somebody at the presidency as well. As soon as we reach a certain level, we will print a copy and hand it physically to the presidency. And we will use all available advocacy tools to make sure we have such a law that will strip this anonymity from the mob. And we hope it will stop these kind of attacks.
And so far, what responses have you got? Would you say it's positive?
The responses have been very, very encouraging. Ghanaians all over the world are signing the petition and making comments that show that they are really deeply touched by what has happened, and everybody is willing to put in whatever effort is required to make sure that we have legislation that will allow people who congregate and create mob situations will be punished, and so over time mob actions or mob injustices will be a thing of the past.
But let's look at you just pushing for this law to be passed. Are you only worried about the law that will bite hard, as you put it, but are you not concerned about implementation? Because, of course, if you are in Ghana, you know that we have so many beautiful laws sitting on our shelves, but enforcement has been the problem. Are you not worried about implementation?
Going forward, I think I'm not. Because, as you see, there's a mass, support for something to be done. Unfortunately, in Ghana, sometimes when these things happen, we all get angry, we get shocked, and then we go to sleep. This time around, we want to do something about it. And I believe that the shock that the nation has felt is something that will propel everybody to keep an eye on what government does. As you can see with this particular case, all the media, everybody in the media is following this particular story to see what action will be taken against the suspects who have been arrested. In the same vein, if we have a new law, I believe the media is going to follow up. Just like you invited me here to be able to talk about it, I believe if there's a law passed, you will also follow up to make sure the implementation matches the kind of action we want to see.
Are you involving the police? Because in essence, they will be the ones to enforce that law.
We are going to involve all the security agencies. Once the law is passed, they have a mandate to implement. So the next stage will then be to push the police to ensure that they implement, and essentially whenever there's an incident, we would then have to engage the media to follow up on that incident to make sure the police prosecute to the logical conclusion. All
right, many thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Boesiako is a private citizen, and he wants a law to be passed. In that law, it must contain things that will not allow people to engage in mob action. What he says is that he wants the law to entail columns or statements like, if you cannot rescue the one being mobbed, then don't join in the mob attack. If you have anything to do, probably if you can call in the police or you can call in anybody to come and rescue the situation, please do so. Stay away from the scene where the crime is being perpetrated, but if you don't have anything to add to what is going on or to rescue the situation, just stay away. Don't even come closer, so that the police will be able to identify people who commit such crimes. That's one of the things he wants in that law, and he says it's very, very urgent looking at the situation the country finds itself.